Taya Williams. Thank you for joining me here on Taya's Sweet Aroma. Today I am going to be heating up my kitchen with a delicious recipe that is for sure to have this entire house smelling delicious. So the recipe I'm going to be sharing with you here today is my triple herb spatchcock chicken. Now, a spatchcock chicken is basically a whole chicken that has had the backbone removed. You then flip it back over and break that breast down. Now, if you aren't sure how to do that, you can check out my recipe for my Cajun spatchcock chicken over on my blog, and I go through all the steps of breaking it down there. Now, this recipe is, it's sort of, I guess, a country style recipe, because not only do I get a delicious, flavorful oven-baked chicken out of this recipe, I also use those drippings to make up a gravy to pour over the top, and I'm gonna be making some biscuits, of course. You gotta have some biscuits on the side of chicken and gravy. So I have a few more things to get prepped and ready. Once I am done, I'm gonna bring you in a little bit closer so we can go over the ingredients. The ingredients you're gonna need for this recipe is some garlic, some salt, pepper, parsley, rosemary, some thyme, granulated garlic. I have some melted salted butter, water. For the veggies, you're gonna need some celery, carrots, yellow onion, some potatoes, and of course the star ingredient, which is the chicken. And now there's gonna be a couple of more ingredients that you're gonna need for the gravy, but we'll go over those at that time. I'm gonna first start out by adding half a cup of my melted butter into this measuring cup, along with my herbs, granulated garlic, salt, and pepper. Okay, I have everything mixed together nicely, and here you have the triple herb butter. One other thing I did want to say though is that if you happen to have the fresh herbs on hand, you can use those as well. I've done it with the fresh herbs, and I just use just a little bit more than I would with the dried herbs, because they aren't as strong as the dried ones. But I always have the dried ones on hand, so I prefer to just use what I have on hand most of the time. Now I have here my roasting pan. I'm gonna grab my veggies, add all of these into the pan. You may notice that I have my potatoes chopped a little bit thicker, and that's because this chicken is gonna be baking for roughly around an hour and a half total. And if I were to dice the potatoes really small, they would just get way too mushy, and I want them to be sort of like a baked potato texture when they're all done. So that's why they're cut a little bigger. Now I'm just gonna bring all of these together, and I'm gonna pour off, let me get another spoon. I'm gonna pour off about half of this butter and reserve the other half. Let me just get everything stirred back together and just toss them. Okay, all the veggies have gotten nice and coated. Some of the butter has even started to solidify back because the veggies, I guess, are a little colder, so it's starting to get a bit hard again. I'm just gonna evenly, now my chicken is gonna be roasting, is gonna be sitting on top of all these veggies, and that way the juices have a chance to render off, and those juices are what I'm gonna be using for the gravy. And so it's gonna have the flavor of not only those onions. Oh, one other thing I forgot. One of the most important seasonings, which is the garlic. So let me get these tossed in. Okay, that's mixed good enough. Just gonna flatten these back out again. Now, like I was saying, those juices are gonna be absorbing the juice not only from the veggies, the onion, the garlic, celery, carrot. They're also gonna be getting some of that triple herb butter that is rendering off that chicken the entire time. And so the chicken is gonna be sitting on top of the veggies. That way it has a chance to just sort of crisp up nicely around the edges. And we will be draining it off before it fully cooks after the first hour or so. But we'll get to that here in a bit. Now to this, well, let me wash my hands really quick before we continue. Now, like I was saying, you can see here, all the veggies are nicely coated in with the butter. I'm gonna grab this chicken and I'm gonna start, I have this paper towel there helping to drain some of the extra drippings off of it. But I'm gonna start with it from the inside, all right? And I'm gonna bring you in closer so you can see how I like to get this butter into this chicken. So what I'm doing with this thigh is I'm separating the skin from the meat, going all the way down this drumstick. I'm gonna get this butter. And you can wear gloves if you want, but I think it's just fine like this. Now I'm gonna take this butter and really push it. Start with the leg. Really see, and just like it did with the veggies, the butter just sort of solidifies in there because the chicken is still a bit cold, although I've had it out for 30 minutes trying to let it come to room temperature some. So I'm just pressing it. And when you cut into this bird, you have all those delicious herbs and flavors in every single piece. Now I'm gonna do the same thing with this thigh, making sure that it coats it really nicely. Get this other side done. Okay, now that I have that side done, I'm gonna flip it over to the breast side. Look, you can see all those delicious flavors in there. Make sure you keep it propped up. I'll work with it a little bit more when I'm done with the breast. But again, just like I did with the thighs, going in with my finger, separating the skin, making a little pocket for these herbs to hang out in. And you want to get it under the skin because that's where the flavor is going to get into the meat, not from the skin. If you only season the outside of your bird, the inside meat won't have a chance to really get flavored. So I like to flavor the inside a lot. Okay, I was able to get most of that sauce coated under the skin. Gonna fold my wings back underneath. Okay, I'm just tucking my veggies back underneath the chicken because, again, I want the veggies to, I want the chicken to stay nice and high and out of the drippings. Now I'm gonna take this remaining butter before I wash my hands, drizzle it over the top of the chicken. This is gonna help it to develop some really nice color. Lastly, I'm gonna flavor the top of the skin very lightly because there's so many flavors going on in this pan already. So I put on some salt. I'm gonna add a little more pepper over the top of the skin. Okay, that is great. Everything is nicely coated. One last thing that I do need to do is pour my water in around the chicken. I also wanted to mention to you that normally I use kosher salt for this recipe. So you will see kosher salt listed on the list of ingredients. I only had sea salt on hand, so I just cut back and used that. So you can see here how beautiful the bird looks. We are gonna get this covered with some foil, place it into my oven that has been preheated to 400 degrees. And after the first hour, I will take it out, drain off some of those juices, and I will show you those steps when we get to them. The chicken has been in the oven now for 1 hour, so I'm gonna go ahead, remove this foil. It smells delicious. Let you see this here. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this measuring cup right here and I'm gonna strain off some of these fats into this bowl. One thing I forgot to grab was my strainer. Try to get it to sit there because I want to keep my gravy nice and smooth. I'm gonna take this chicken again and strain off the juices. And I'm about right there. So now I'm gonna rearrange everything. There's all those fats, the bits I don't want. And I'm just gonna carefully rearrange everything back around the chicken. Now it's gonna go back into the oven uncovered for another 30 minutes. Times may vary depending on your oven, but what you want to make sure is that the chicken has had a chance to get nice and crisp and sort of toasty on the top. Get that skin nice and crispy. That's important when baking chicken. So I'm gonna get this back into the oven, and I'm not gonna start on my gravy until the chicken is done. So get this back in the oven and I will show you what it looks like when it's done. My chicken is now done. You can see that it had a chance to get nice and beautifully golden brown on the top. The skin has a nice little crisp to it. But what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna set this aside and I'm gonna get all the ingredients ready for the gravy. The ingredients you're gonna need for the gravy is the reserved drippings that we removed from the pan after the first hour of cooking, some granulated garlic and some flour. Now what I'm gonna do to get started is, you may have been wondering why there was so much butter added to this. Now this butter has started, if you can see it here on the side, it has separated from the broth at the bottom. So I'm gonna carefully tilt this and start removing the fat from the top of this until I have enough for what I need for this gravy. So you can see here that I've been able to get most of the fat off of the top. I'm gonna go ahead and add this to the pot. My pot is set over a medium heat. Now that the oil is hot, I'm gonna go ahead and add in the flour, whisk it in. Now I'm gonna allow this flour to cook and start to develop some color on it. So you can see here that my flour has had a chance to brown. Now I'm gonna go ahead and start adding in the rest of the drippings, whisking as I go. Now I'm gonna add in my garlic powder, as well as a little extra freshly ground black pepper. Get these whisked in. Now I'm gonna allow the gravy some time to come up to a boil. Now I've allowed this gravy some time to sit and boil for about 7 to 8 minutes, stirring it occasionally, and now it looks perfect. It will continue to thicken some more as it sits, so you want to keep that in mind. Okay, now I want you to be able to see how nice and velvety smooth this gravy is. Now I have my chicken here along with this delicious gravy I just made up. I'm gonna give this chicken a taste for you, and I wish you could smell what I am smelling right now. This right here is dinner. I'm gonna cut off a piece of the thigh. You can see some of those herbs on top of that chicken. Then I'm gonna take some of this delicious gravy and so good. Put it over the chicken. Man, the chicken, it's nice and juicy. You can definitely taste that butter, those herbs. It's perfectly cooked. You gotta give this recipe a try. I mean, everything from start to finish was pretty simple to put together. I mean, if you just follow the steps, it'll turn out perfectly for you each and every time, especially the gravy. I say don't skimp out on the gravy, because whatever it is that you're serving it with, just pour it over the top. I'm gonna be serving mine alongside some collard greens tonight, so that gravy will kind of make its way under those collard greens as well. Have some biscuits. This is good eating right here, all right? Anyhow, I thank you for spending time with me here today. Don't forget to like and subscribe below, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye.